Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace an alternator in this 2005 Nissan Elantra. Pretty much the same for any 2001 to 2006 with the 2.0 liter 4-cylinder. And tools you'll need are 10 and 12 millimeter wrenches, as well as a socket and ratchet. And you might need a pipe or something for a little bit of extra leverage.
Using a 10 millimeter socket wrench to remove the negative in the battery. Set that aside. I'm removing the radiator overflow hose from its clip, pulling it aside, and I'm undoing the clip for power to the fan. Clip on top, pulling that aside. I'm locating the two 10 millimeter bolts right here and right here. Push the radiator just a little bit, radiator fan just a little bit away from the radiator and pull up and out. Alright, I've located the 12 millimeter bolt that holds the adjuster on the alternator. I'm using a pipe for extra leverage.
And we'll just fast forward here. You want to take that bolt all the way out and take the adjuster out as well.
And I've located the lower nut for the alternator right here, right next to the oil filter. Use my 12 millimeter and a wrench on my pipe for extra leverage. Taking the tension off the adjuster, the 12 millimeter wrench. And with my tensioner loose, I can push the alternator forward and sneak the belt off. And I'm going to disconnect the alternator, push in the clip, pull it out. And then below the harness is a cap, and there's a 10 millimeter nut underneath.
And we'll just speed it up here as we take that nut off. That nut holds the battery wire onto the alternator.
I'm pulling the alternator down now. If it's a little tight, you can always use a pry bar in here. I'm going to pry it, force it past the bracket, down as far as it'll go. Alright, I'm going to wiggle the alternator loose, and I'm going to position it carefully so that the harness and power are towards the engine. And then just find the best way to pull it up.
Okay, so we're actually just putting our old alternator back in. It's in fine shape. We're using a little bit of oil just to make it so it's easier to slip into the bracket. For a new alternator, you'll have to transfer that bolt. Just install it in your new alternator lightly.
Before you go putting the existing
if you're putting in an existing alternator, you're going to want to tap that compression fitting back down. If you're putting in a new alternator, you don't have to worry about this step.
Or it'll obstruct you when you go to put it back into the mounting bracket. And I'm going to, again, keep the harness towards the engine. Slide past the O2 sensor and the engine dipstick. Carefully drop it back down.
And it just takes a little bit to work that bolt and the alternator back into the bracket. Again, if you have a new alternator, it will slide in a little bit easier because that compression fitting won't be engaged.
I'm putting the tensioner back in through the bracket and into the alternator.
And we'll just speed up here as we use a socket and ratchet to, you just want to get that bolt in close. You don't want to tighten it yet. You don't tighten it until you get the belt on there and tighten up the belt. You didn't tighten that bolt in?
And I'm reconnecting the lead to the battery. Close the cover, pop in your harness.
Okay, so if you took your belt all the way off, you can, probably the easiest way to get back on is to take off this access panel behind the passenger's front wheel, and then you can reach right up in there and get the belt on the easiest way. If during the alternator installation, if you don't take it all the way out, it's probably easy enough to just flip it right back onto the alternator, so you might be able to skip this step.
Put the alternator belt back up. I'm going to get it on the top pulley first. And around the alternator. And around the crank.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward here slightly. The belt's back on, and now we're retightening that tensioner. And you basically want to tighten it up until you can grab the belt between the pulleys, and you should be able to move the belt up and down between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, actually closer to 1/8 of an inch. Once it's that tight, then you can use your 12mm and tighten the bolt that's on the back of the tensioner that goes into the alternator.
I'm tightening up the lower nut on the alternator. We're just going to reinstall the original fan because it tested out fine, but the replacement from 1A Auto is going to be a direct replacement fit. And we got the two tabs on the bottom here, and they're going to slide into two tabs at the bottom of the radiator. I'm going to install my bolts. I'm going to plug the connector back in and put the radiator drain hose back on. I'm reconnecting the battery.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.